Yo, what's going on, y'all? It's Combo Breaker 99. I am back with another video. All right, y'all, back with some interesting news here. Not really shocking news here because when it comes to tweeting and, getting on social media, anybody can pretty much say whatever they want. You can just kind of say, okay, all right, I'm not going to take that as gold. So this is not really shocking news. Now, if they make this fight, if they were to make this fight, then it would definitely be some shocking news. But I just had to get on here and talk about this and give you my thoughts because these are two of my favorite fighters in their own separate sports. So had to get on here and give you my thoughts because I had some people ask me as well. But as y'all know, y'all been hearing about it on social media and YouTube. World boxing champion Amanda Serrano made a big call out. She made one of the biggest call outs of her career. No, she didn't call out Clarissa Shields. No, she didn't call out Katie Taylor. She didn't even call out Jessica McCaskill. You know who Amanda Serrano called out? She called out the UFC flyweight champion of the world, also known as the pound for pound best women's fighter in the world today, Valentina Shevchenko. That's right. Serrano called out the bullet. Now, my first reaction was like, oh, hold up now. What's going on here? You know what I mean? I was like, wait, I had to read that thing like 5 times, just to really take it in. Did she call her out to a flyweight championship bout, or did she call her out to a boxing match? Because some people said boxing, but no, it's clear right here in the tweet that she wants to fight Valentina in the UFC. So I was like, hold, pump the brakes, right? But as y'all know, this was part of a reply tweet that Jake Paul had put out. Jake Paul is trying to call out Dana White and Jorge Masvidal to a 1-fight deal in the UFC to take on Jorge Masvidal in an MMA bout, right? I thought he wanted to fight him in a boxing match, but I guess he wants to try to challenge him to an MMA bout, a one-off, to try to get Dana White to up the pay of the fighters and get them long-term health care or something like that. He's trying to go to that extent, right? So he said, hey, I'll take on Jorge Masvidal in a one-off in the UFC. And in the reply section here, Amanda Serrano, she tweeted this comment. She said, I will gladly sign a 1-fight deal with the UFC to challenge Valentina for the flyweight championship if the UFC agrees to Jake Paul's offer. Let's make history. So for everybody that was thinking it was a boxing match, it clearly says, I would gladly sign a 1-fight deal to the UFC to challenge Valentina for the flyweight championship. It didn't say anything about boxing. It said she'll challenge Valentina to the flyweight championship if they accept Jake Paul's offer. And she's acting like that's going to really sweeten the deal. You know what I mean? Like that's like a big fight in itself, which I'll talk about here in a minute. But it's not. You know what I mean? Like she's making that sound like, okay, if you sign Jake Paul, hey, I sign off to fight Valentina. But hey, that's like signing your life away, right? Because we all know the deal. Like the hardcore fans, we all know the deal. But if you read the comments here that are actually kind of backing that fight, man, hey, fans, they will give you false confidence. They will always do that, man. They will give that false confidence just because they're a fan of you. But I'm going to be real. Look, I'm a fan of both fighters, Shevchenko and Serrano. I follow a lot of Serrano's the majority of her career in boxing and, of course, all the MMA so far. So I'm going to give it to you real. I'm not just going to say, okay, she can do it or she could give Valentina a challenge. I'm not the one to do that. But my thoughts on that whole situation, I think it's just for clout chasing, hanging with the Paul brothers and, trying to kind of follow their blueprint to promotion to get out there. I think she's just trying to put her name out there right now. But if you really want to break it down, like let's break it down from boxing and MMA. All right, let's say if she tried to challenge Valentina Shevchenko to a boxing match, right? First of all, my thoughts on that, that's a no-go. That's a fight that shouldn't even happen because, for one, Valentina's already stated in some interviews that she didn't really have any interest going into the world of women's boxing. I know Rose Namajunas has said that as well, but Valentina also kind of stated that because she said, there's no real money in it. They don't really know how to promote their fighters or treat them the same way, as the MMA fighters, the fighters in the UFC. So that's not really a fight that I think Shevchenko would really be interested in, even for a lot of money, right? I think she just wanted to really get into boxing early in her career to help prepare her for the world of mixed martial arts. She wanted to kind of become a well-rounded fighter, so she took in boxing and all these other disciplines to make her such a much more of a complete fighter, right? So I don't really think she has any interest. That's not really a challenge for her. So the boxing world, that's out. And as for Amanda Serrano in the boxing world, she already has a big fight. There's only one name that everybody wants to see her in the ring with right now. Since she's had her turnover fight, a few weeks ago, there's another champion that's had her fight, right? So their turnover time should be right around the same time, and that's Katie Taylor. So she really needs to save this energy for Katie Taylor, right? Let's be real. Save this energy for Katie Taylor. Save these tweets for Katie Taylor. That's the only fight that we want to see. That's the only reason I thought she really signed with Jake Paul. The Paul brothers was to try to get the biggest payday she could get and try to, cross over, to try to get that $1 million payday with Katie Taylor and, really get in on, get in on that top level to try to get Eddie Hearn to say, okay, this fight does look like it could bring in some money, right? Which it's looking like it's going to do, right? If she continues to push for this fight, because I think this fight and Clarissa Shields versus Savannah Marshall, these are like the only $2 million fights in women's boxing. So she's already off to a good start trying to get that fight with Katie Taylor. So don't kill that energy. Don't worry about Valentina. Just stay on this road for Katie Taylor, because that's her biggest payday, I think, that's ahead of her right now. I think a Shevchenko fight wouldn't even pay out as much, because she's not really known in the world of MMA, right? And bringing up the world of MMA, that's another discipline where, for Amanda Serrano, that she shouldn't even really be entertaining right now, because for one, the UFC, they don't do one fight deals. Dana White doesn't do that now. There have been times when he would probably sign a fighter and have to cut them due to them being popped or them not making weight or, doing something crazy, right? Where he would just have to cut the fighter. But he doesn't just go in signing one fight deals. You usually sign to like a 4-fight contract, right? So for Amanda Serrano to think she can just say, okay, to sweeten the deal, sign me up for one fight against the champion, that's not going to happen. And again, okay, at 2-0 with one draw, do you really think you'd be ready for that fight? And Amanda Serrano fans, do you really think she would be ready for that fight? WMMA fans, do you really think she would be ready for that fight? No. So if you look at it, her 2-0 with one draw, that's not a spectacular record. That's really going to want to make you see, that's really going to make you say, okay, she could even give her a tough challenge. Like, oh, she has 3 fights under her belt. Like, these aren't even the best of competition. Like, if you heard me call some of her MMA fights in the past, I've already said that, okay, these are good stepping stones for her. Like I called her last fight an icon. I said, look, oh yeah, or was it Combate or Icon? I think it was Icon. She had the last MMA fight that I called, I did a breakdown of it. I said, okay, she's off to the right, she's off to the right, on the right path. She's doing a good thing here. She's building herself up. And then I did another video where I broke it down and said, okay, her and Clarissa, promotion-wise, they're off to a good start, building themselves up in the world of WMMA. Even more so Amanda, because she's taking these small fights that eventually get her to a point where she could fight in Invicta or even Bellator. I didn't say anything about her going straight to the UFC or her looking like part of my triple threat or anything like that, right? So she's still in like a growing stage. Like, even if you see her in the octagon now, she looks like one of these other green fighters, that are on the regional scene, that are in Cage Fury or LFA. She's still a fighter of that stature that needs a lot of work. You know what I mean? Like, if fighters like, okay, first off, if fighters in the UFC league now, if fighters like Manon or Aaron Blanchfield or Casey O'Neill or Melissa Gatto, if fighters like that we're saying are not ready, then how could we even say somebody like Amanda Serrano would be a challenge for Valentina Shevchenko, right? Now, we could say that Manon could be that one by the end of this year, right? But even then, we'd still say, man, that's a big task ahead of her. Like all these fighters, they got to have something about them to get to make it a challenge for Valentina Shevchenko, right? We're all saying that, but that's the fighters here in the UFC now. So a fighter like Amanda Serrano to think, okay, I can sign off a one fight deal and then leapfrog ahead of all of these girls and make this like a super fight. That just sounds crazy, right? That just sounds crazy. So I think she just might be doing this for clout chasing. But if you really want the real, like even like the casual boxing fans that think she has a chance, like the casual boxing fans that think Clarissa Shields had a chance to knock out Amanda Nunes, y'all got another thing coming. I got to give you the real here, because like I said, I did a video, a few months ago about Amanda Serrano saying, okay, she's on the right path as far as growing in the world of MMA, because everything she's done in the world of boxing, okay, that's good. But when you coming over to the world of mixed martial arts, it's almost like you're learning to walk again. You're learning to walk because there's so many other disciplines that you have to learn. Your stance is going to change. You got to worry about takedowns, takedown defense. You got to worry about head kicks, not just jabs and right hands now. So there's so much more that Amanda Serrano had to add to her game that right away, Valentina Shevchenko, she probably would feel bad for Amanda Serrano in the first round, right? She probably would feel bad for her for even signing the fight to think she have a chance, So for Amanda Serrano, her path should be, if she wants to grow in the world of MMA, it should be the same way she's going, keep fighting Icon, keep fighting Combate, and then go to somewhere like Invicta. Because right now, even fighters in Invicta could beat her. You know, if she was a flyweight, Brogan Sanchez could beat her, right? Aaron Blanchfield, if she stepped into the UFC, fighters like Aaron Blanchfield and Casey O'Neill would have a field day with her, right? You know, she's not on that level yet. So there's still a lot of work that needs to be done before you could even say, like, oh, let's sweeten the deal by throwing me in against Valentina Shevchenko on a one-fight deal. Now, that doesn't have the same ring as, like, Conor McGregor coming over to the boxing world against Floyd Mayweather, right? Because, first off, they're both superstars, right? And then next, Conor McGregor, he'd be safer in the boxing ring than Floyd would be in the octagon, right? Because that's only one discipline that he has to worry about. All he would have to worry about is the hands. So Conor coming to the world of boxing, that's big. You know, that's big because, again, superstars, and it's safe for him, even though he did suffer a concussion in that stoppage against Floyd, you know. But anyways, that's much safer for him than Floyd going over to the world of MMA. And they both have big reputations. That's why people wanted to see that fight. But when it comes down to Amanda, who's only 2-0 against lower level competition. Oh yeah, and also one draw, lower level competition in the world of MMA. You know, nobody really knows her. You know, Invicta fans don't know her, and UFC fans don't know her. You know what I mean? Like, again, you know, she's already having a tough time being recognized in the world of women's boxing. You know, of course, I know her. You know, she's a 7-division world champion on the way to being undisputed in the weight class, wants to fight Katie Taylor. I know all that, but there's not a lot of people that know her. You know, there's not really a lot of people that know her that would say, let's see you do it. Let's see you do it. Let's see you take on that challenge against the best MMA fighter in the world, right? That just wouldn't happen. That just doesn't sound right. So for me right now, I think, you know, first of all, my thoughts just on the tweet, I think it's just like a clout chase promotional thing, but I'm just kind of addressing the actual fans that think she could do it. No, there's no way, no chance, no way, no how that she would give Valentina Shevchenko a chance or a challenge in the world of MMA. Now, if it went to boxing, let's say if they did make the boxing match, Valentina Shevchenko probably would still give Amanda Serrano a good fight. She probably would still give her a good fight. I would favor Amanda Serrano just because that's her world and she'd be so much more disciplined in using her hands and throwing combinations and just the overall approach and stance again to the world of boxing. And Valentina has been gone for a while from the world of boxing, but Valentina still has power and she turns her punches over like no other fighter right now. You know what I mean? Like, she turns her punches over better than some of these female boxers. So that would be something that Amanda Serrano would still have to worry about. I would still favor Amanda Serrano in that fight, but Valentina Shevchenko would give her a hell of a fight in the boxing world. So with that being said, I definitely have to say that Valentina would be more of a challenge in the boxing ring to Amanda Serrano than Amanda Serrano would be a challenge to Valentina Shevchenko in the octagon.